The YouTube algorithm is one of the most misunderstood things in social media. I certainly thought I understood it before I started posting videos, and I had to relearn everything I thought I knew, and I had to relearn it fast. The way the algorithm works is not necessarily the thing we should be focused on. It's who will be watching the videos. The algorithm is not a thing for the creators. The algorithm's a thing for the viewers. And the thing that we're not thinking about is the viewers that will be clicking the videos. It's our job as creators to make the most clickable videos for the audiences that we're targeting with the actual video that we made, so that the people who would watch the video and get something from it are very likely to click it in the first place. The algorithm needs some help figuring out who those people are and where to find them, and it uses a lot of tools to do that. We're going to talk a bit about that here. So I'm going to steal a visualization method that I really liked from another YouTuber. Let me find this guy, Channel Makers. I really like his visualizer here, and we're going to steal the absolute shit out of it. He describes a circle that is the YouTube algorithm, and this circle has layers. There are, like in the tight circle in the middle here, this would be people who are the most familiar with a topic, and the outside would be the people who are the least familiar. And then there are slices in this circle. So I'm going to make a slice here. Obviously, it wouldn't be this big relative, but this is like software dev, is this slice. So software dev videos are in this chunk. As you go further in, the deeper you go, the more knowledgeable you would have to be for that video to be useful to you. So in this range deep in the middle here, change the color of the arrow, here, what we would expect is like debugging X bug in some specific language. Like really deep stuff that you have been programming for a while for this to bring value. It's very niche. Where up here, near the top, I'd expect things like a day in the life of a dev, where you don't have to really be into the topic at all. You don't have to know anything about software, but you might be interested in this video and you might still click on it. If somebody watches a lot of videos in that top range, so like if we have a theoretical person who's watching videos up here, that individual will slowly move down in the middle, or down to the middle to the end. But at any given time, YouTube is trying to figure out where your videos go here. So I'm going to change this to a dotted circle. We're going to call this Noob Zone. I'm going to rename this Noob Zone. Not what I was trying to do there. And I'm going to rename this section in here the Pro Zone. So we have these two sections. And whenever you put out a video, we'll make these solid circles. I hit the wrong button there. This video needs to go somewhere. So I have this new video I just made. Where does this go in here? YouTube doesn't know, so it's not going to show it to too many people initially. But once this video is in somebody's watch history, let's say I reply or I see a tweet about GraphQL, and I'm a new YouTuber, and I have this GraphQL video, and I see somebody talking about GraphQL, and I reply, oh, that's interesting. I talk about it in this video, and I link this video with no views yet. Now, all the people who click it are going to be GraphQL people who have some interest in GraphQL enough to click that video. And now that video might be recommended to other GraphQL viewers or other people with that similar trait, because YouTube's going to look at the people who watched this video and the other things they've watched, and based on that, decide who to recommend it to next. And it's going to try out different things. It's going to try here. It's going to try here. It's going to try here until it finds a section where it really hits. And then it's going to double down on that area. So if you make a lot of content that's in a specific area and those videos start to do well, YouTube now thinks that's the area you're in. So here's a problem I ran into early when my channel was doing well. We're going to add another section here. I'm going to kill some arrows to make things clearer. Thicker line. We'll say that this section is business. I'm not going to try and spell entrepreneur on the fly right now. We'll say this is like the business section. We have software dev and business. I had videos that were doing really well in like this mid-level between noob and pro for dev stuff on YouTube. To be even more specific, I'll draw another line. In this general software dev category, we have web dev. Kill these as well. We have web dev and we have like full stack dev. You could even have backend dev somewhere in here too. And where I was filling, it's probably somewhere between these two, decent sized range. Then I made a video over here. How is YouTube supposed to figure out that a channel that lives in this range is making a video over here? YouTube has no way of making this move for me, and it confuses the absolute shit out of the algorithm because my channel exists here, somewhere between web dev and full stack in the software dev world. So when I make a video on business, or I make a video like I am right now on the YouTube algorithm, that is not where my audience is. That is not where my audience lives. And I have to be realistic about that when I make videos on a given channel. If I wanted to make more business videos, something that would make a lot of sense would be to make a new channel just so that I don't have to retrain the algorithm. Hey, by the way, Theo's channel means my videos go here, and sometimes go over here somewhere. Shoot. Like, I don't want to train the algorithm to do that because it won't do that well. The algorithm picks a section that it thinks makes sense based on who's watching your videos. And then things get confusing. So this is why I have an old skateboarding video on my channel that a lot of y'all haven't watched because the few people who saw it and clicked it didn't watch the whole thing through, so it doesn't index highly with one of these verticals. Somebody asked about like the keywords, title, description, that stuff. That helps with search a bit, but that does not help at all with algorithm placement. The algorithm doesn't really care about your title, your thumbnail, about those things. All the algorithm cares about is who is watching the video and are they watching it through or not. If people are watching the video and those people have certain characteristics, usually that they watch other videos of other similar types of things, like if I have a video, even something that happened to me is one of my first dev videos was me working with Dan Abramov, which went kind of viral because it was popping up in recommendations and it did well on Twitter. So React devs were clicking it. YouTube said, okay, React devs like this video. We'll show it to more React devs. And then it did really well with people watching Dan Abramov videos specifically. So that video started to do well, and it gave me a spot. Specifically, after that Dan Abramov thing, I had a very, very strong niche deep in like React within web dev land. And what ended up happening was my Dan Abramov video was here. My channel's content is more here, as I was saying before. So I'm here. My Dan Abramov interview was here. And it took YouTube 5 to 6 months to move me from here to here, where it started showing my videos to people who are more interested in full stack stuff. It takes a bit for the algorithm to catch up, especially when something does really well with a group, because this video got 100,000 plays from React devs when I had 10 other videos with 5K plays for full stack. And of those 5K plays, most of them were web dev. So the algorithm still thought I was like here, and it very slowly expanded and moved my circle over until it figured out where I live now. That is the reason that this works. And this is how the algorithm works. It's not about your video. And notice how I haven't really talked too much about the videos here. This is the audience circles. These are the people who watch the things. And I think a big part of why my channel is doing so well is because I refuse to leave this zone. I am so dedicated to making content in like this middle range here because I didn't see a lot of content that did it. Content that was well produced and fun to watch that isn't too senior to understand if you're new-ish, but is still deep enough to like be at your level. And I like pulling things from up here and down here as I learn how to make the best possible stuff for this middle range. But I have to understand where this range is. Vertically, it is between noobs and experts. And horizontally, it's between designers and backend devs. Like another, like if I was to split this further, we could say like backend dev is here. I could say like web designer is here, and different pieces of my content reach different places and in different ways. But this is all like the wedge that is dev and designer. Like this is like the designer to dev spectrum I've done another video on before, like my full stack spectrum. But this is the spectrum of types of content in the dev world. And the algorithm is at all times trying to figure out where you as a viewer sit, and then where or which audiences my video will do well with. This all makes sense? I really liked this visualizer. I didn't love a lot of the like language and like working around the idea. So I wanted to do my own rant on it because I absolutely see this. And a phrase you'll hear a lot is niche down. It means the top area of this of a circle is oversaturated and you should move down deeper into it. I don't think that's really the case anymore, especially like honestly in software dev, there is so much both content and demand in this higher range. And it seems like the CPMs, like the money you can make on ads here is better too. So generally speaking, niching down isn't necessary. Like if anything, it's probably better to go up the spectrum because of how much demand there is up here. But generally, if you know what you love and who you want to talk to, and you think about this circle or this graph, like where is the audience you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to web designers that are pretty experienced to very experienced? Do you want to talk to backend developers? Or do you want to talk to full stack people who are leaning more into backend? Where on this chart does the thing you want to make exist? Go do that and focus in on that and do everything you can to get people who exist in that audience and in that circle to watch your videos so YouTube can pick up on it from there. The best thing you can do if you're trying to make your channel do well is identify the audience you want it to do well with and give them reasons to watch the videos. The algorithm doesn't care about your titles or all these other things, and people who try to game the algorithm often are missing the point. We're not gaming the algorithm. We're gaming our audience. We're gaming the audience that we want to have into watching videos that we think they'll enjoy. And if you succeed with that, you will succeed with the algorithm. So what does MrBeast do differently than other YouTubers? That's actually a really good question. So right now we have this circle. You could argue that this whole circle is dev and dev related, and that either you can make this circle way bigger for all of YouTube, or you can do what my argument is, which is that there's like bigger circles for all of YouTube. And what I would argue is I'm going to kill this one. So like we have this one dev circle somewhere in here. And this is not to proportion at all. But I would argue that there is like tech is a big category on YouTube. And that all of the dev stuff exists within it. And that there's other like verticals that are bigger and smaller throughout. But software is just one section of that. Gonna go even bigger now. And I will say that tech is part of the vertical of science. God, this is going to piss off Excalibur so much. My scaling is hilarious right now. So there is science. and what Mr. Beast's specific goal with what he is doing. Can I not zoom out further? Have I zoomed out too far? Have I hit the limits of Excalidraw? That's fine. We can make it smaller. Solution. And then what Mr. Beast does, as far as I'm concerned, is he tries to fill out this area outside. I can't easily, I wish there was like a paint bucket so I could paint just this outside layer and not the inside layers. But this outside range here, in a more general content, this whole circle is content. It's things people watch for entertainment. And his goal is to be the general of everything. So you don't even have to know what the topic is. You just know that the video is entertaining. And when you're that far out, a lot of these deeper things stop talking. Like, we're talking about niches of niches of niches when we live inside of here, which is where we live right now in software dev on YouTube. We have this little circle, and it's his goal to be outside of every circle because his content is so general that you don't have to be part of a vertical to enjoy it. And somebody pointed out the dub thing, which is very interesting, because you could make the argument that, like, here to here, this is English. And then everything underneath would have to be smaller, because there'd be like science that's in English. There'd be like entertainment that's in English, makeup that's in English, cooking that's in English. So everything else in this English corner would have to be smaller. But he doesn't even want to be limited by that, because otherwise he'd be in there. It's the goal of somebody like Mr. Beast to break out of the circles wherever they can and get as high up outside of that and just be the perimeter of everything. They're trying to build the pot, like the actual pan for the pie. They're not trying to have a slice of it. Another really good question. How does YouTube know who to show his videos to if they are general? What YouTube does specifically, if we go back into the niche here, I make a video. It's about web dev stuff. And I post it in a React forum. A bunch of React developers are watching. Now YouTube recommends it here. Cool. Now we're going to recommend it to more dev types. Why is Command D working? None of the others are. Okay. So it recommends it to more devs and then more devs. And all these people are watching it. So the circle, like, it'll do this 5 times. And it realizes, oh, everybody in this perimeter likes the video. The circle's bigger than we thought. Okay. Let's do this some more. Now we're going to go a little further. Wait, designers are watching this video? Maybe not. Okay, we put it into the design section. They don't watch it, but we keep going the other way. All of a sudden, it's getting a lot of traction in this area too. And YouTube says, oh shit, we were wrong again. This is actually the circle. It's here. And every time it does this, it effectively expands the size of the search range and keeps doing this again and keeps expanding. So it starts in a section, expands until it figures out like a new size of audience, and then it tests that new size of audience in nearby groups. And then eventually it turns out all of software dev likes it. Okay, what other science groups like it? Can we expand this even further from there? And then eventually you're at the point where it's just showing this video to anybody who's ever watched a science video. And that's when things go really crazy. So we go back to the diagram here for the question of how do Mr. Beast videos get recommended? It does well in some audience, so that audience gets bigger. It does well in that audience, so it gets bigger. It does well in this audience, so it gets bigger. Until eventually, this video has reached audiences that are significantly bigger than anyone would have guessed. And then it knows that that's how that channel works. So it is treating the channel this way. So when a new video comes out on the channel, it just shows it to fucking everybody because the click-through rate on that video is so high and the watch-through rate is so high regardless that it just keeps doing that. One other way to think of this, actually one of my favorite like framings on YouTube. I'm just going to show some of my numbers. I know I'm not supposed to do this. I'm going to hide it so I don't show the revenue numbers because that's the one they hate. But if I show the other stuff, audience, Aha. Click-through rate is a very interesting number. The way click-through rate works is based on a video's thumbnail and title, how many people are clicking on it when they see it. So a 5% click-through rate, how do I put it? A 5% click-through rate means 5% of the time one of my thumbnails is in someone's feed, they click on it and start watching the video. This 5% is pretty high. But for a given video, especially when you post a new video, your goal is 20% plus. You want that click-through rate to be as high as possible. YouTube, counterintuitively, is actually fighting to push it down a little bit at all times. Because if we go back into the small circle in here, I can't Command Z all the stuff I was doing there. Can delete a bunch though. Fuck. So let's say in this circle, I have a super high click-through rate. I have like a 40% click-through rate. So YouTube moves to here. And in this circle, I have a 30% click-through rate. Then it moves here and it stays 30%. Then it moves here and it stays 30%. Here it stays 30. Here it starts to dip. Now it's at like 25%. But 25% is still really high, so it's still happy with that. So it's going to keep testing into this range. And generally what YouTube is doing is pushing through your video until it finds somewhere where the click-through rate isn't good. Their definition of good is relatively arbitrary and moves all over the place. But YouTube doesn't show you the number for each of these circles. What YouTube shows you is when you have all of these circles, the sum, the total click-through rate here is 5%. Even if here it's 30% and here it's 1%, the average of this is 5. So the average is a nice number to know generally how your channel's doing. But as your channel does better, YouTube's going to start recommending you to people who are less and less likely to be your audience as it tests things. And that is going to drive your click-through rate down. So it's actually a very good sign to have a video that's click-through rate goes really high and then starts to plummet, because that means YouTube is showing it to a lot of people. And if you look, every time I have one of these spikes of click-through rate, it is always followed by a spike of impressions right after. So I have a click-through rate spike here at 7%, and then literally the next day I have a spike of impressions. I have a click-through rate spike here, and you see an impression spike that lasts for a while there. When a video has good impressions or good click-through rate, it follows with more impressions because YouTube is unintuitively trying to drive that click-through rate down. They're trying to see what the limits of it are. When do people not click the video? How big of a bubble can we make for you? And that is when we see what we see with MrBeast, because they expand from person to person and group to group, and everyone is still clicking for some reason. And that's when we end up with these giant viral channels. Virality happens when every time the video gets shown to a different group, the click-through rate stays good. That's what virality is. It's when the group of videos in no longer matters as much because every group is clicking it. What are impressions? People are asking what are impressions. Like, don't know why I think this is a thing everybody understands already, because it is complex. Impressions are when you see something in a feed. Like when you're scrolling through YouTube and like just scrolling through the videos in your feed, when a video's thumbnail and title show up and you see that, that's an impression. Click-through rate is the percentage of people who see that thing and then click. So if I have a video that has a really high click-through rate, like it's doing really well, I think this is like the algorithm video and the full stack ones. These two did really well. So their click-throughs were really high. So YouTube's like, okay, people really like this video. Let's show it to more people and see how many people will click on it if we keep showing it to people. Good click-through rates vary so much. And like, again, like a good click-through rate will become a bad click-through rate quickly, because if you have a really good click-through rate, YouTube's going to start showing it to people who aren't going to click it and it's going to go down. Almost all of MrBeast's videos probably sit at a 3% click-through. But that 3% click-through is of all of YouTube, where I have a 20% click-through of people who really like React and have watched my videos before, which is who's going to get initially recommended my videos. And if it does well with them, it will expand further and further based on that. How would a creator break out of a niche while keeping their viewers? They don't. You don't. If the viewers are there for the niche, you lose them. That's how it works. If I was to stop making React content, and go all in on Rust or go all in on YouTube algorithm talk or business talk, I would lose over half of my current audience. They're not coming with me. As a creator, what metrics do I try to hit? That's a good question. Yeah, how do I phrase this one? I don't target any one specific metric. One of the things YouTube does that I really love is the ranking by views on new videos. So this video, they made an ID for React video. In the first day and 17 hours it's been out, it's 5 out of 10, which means of my last 10 videos in that same time frame, it is like smack dab in the middle, which is interesting because this AI video is only number 3. This AI video had one of the craziest viewership curves I've ever had on a video because it took YouTube a while, because this video was originally recommended to my web dev circle here, but in reality, the circle for this one, I did this fucking duplicate thing again. I'm gonna kill these circles on top. So like, this is who it recommended it to because this is where my channel lives, when in reality, that video was much more like here. Like, this is who the audience for that AI video was. And it took YouTube a while to realize the audience wasn't here. It was actually here. So the video bombed initially and slowly started doing better as a result. But it took a bit for YouTube to realize this. And it's always interesting to see how the algorithm picks up on those things over time. Yeah, this feature is super addicting. But the reason I was showing this initially is when I have a video that exists in this range, and it should be doing well in this range. Like the video I did about they made an ID for React. That's a React video. My channel gets a lot of React like viewers. YouTube should be able to identify who this goes to well. And if in the first 2 hours when I publish it, it isn't doing well, that means there's something that's not clickable about the video. Either the title or the thumbnail aren't clear or compelling enough that people want to watch it based out of who lives in this particular circle. And if it's not doing well with this circle, and it should be, I'll make a bunch of changes. And a lot of the time I'm making thumbnail and title changes, it's because a video should be doing really well here and isn't. Sometimes it's because a video exists somewhere so different that YouTube's just struggling to pick up on it. Like another video I have is my Y Combinator, like things I learned at YC, like the business video I did about fucking understanding your customer. It's one of my best videos. I really love that video. However, that video is very far from my usual type of content, and YouTube has no idea who to show it to as a result. And it gets really, really confused because of that. Somebody asked about timing for video publishing. It doesn't matter at all. I personally have a time I post my videos because I know how many views it gets at that time between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Pacific time, which is when I usually post. In a 1 hour window, one of my videos should get between 2.5K and 5K plays, depending on if it hits that range and how it's doing within that range. I know if the thumbnail and title are working or not. If it doesn't hit that range and the video is of quality and I think it should be there, I'll go adjust everything until it gets there. If the video shouldn't be there because it's in a different section, I'll grudge and moan and try to not look at my metrics for a few days and just hope YouTube figures it out. And if it doesn't, I'll make further adjustments. Maybe I'll throw the video in a community. Like, honestly, if I was to take that video I did about like product market fit stuff and go post it in some entrepreneur forums or some shit, it'll probably start doing a lot better because they'll watch it through, and then it's in the watch history of those people. But all of these circles are effectively determined by watch history. So there's a circle of people who have watched React videos and have watched Theo videos. How many of them watch this new video as soon as they see it? So if 30% of the people who are in this circle see the video and immediately click it, YouTube starts showing it to everybody. If 5% of the people in this circle immediately click it, 5% more add it to watch later and then never touch it, and then the other 90% just scroll by it, think, oh, maybe I'll get to that later, that kills the video. It's what percentage of people who see it initially, because I have an established audience, what percentage of them are actually watching. That is how YouTube determines who to show it to from there. No place on this is objectively better or worse, but if you want a specific section on here, you have to make a lot of things in this section before YouTube will figure that out. If your ultimate goal is to be here, your question shouldn't be, what type of content should I start with to get there? It should be, how do I make content here? Like, make content where you want to be here for the audience you want to make videos for. Don't make a play hoping to move it somewhere else. Like, God, I really wish I could show you guys the person I'm working with, because they've had this problem because they ran a really big event that changed the direction of their channel, and now they're struggling to figure out how to serve their audiences because they have multiple audiences now. And that's what you do if you move from one thing to another. If you want to do full stack content, go do full stack content. If you want to do React content, go do React content. If your ultimate goal is this circle, like you want web dev and full stack, medium, maybe like beginner to medium, like this is the circle you want to have for your content. What is best to do first? Anything you can talk about confidently. Where is your strongest area? What do you think you can bring the most value in? If you know a lot about React and you really think you can bring a lot of value in like the React section of the web dev world, do that. If you're really into the T3 stack stuff and you think you can bring value there, do that. But pick some section here that you're confident you can bring value in, and make sure that you're always yourself testing the limits of that. Like, make videos throughout here and slowly like expand in that way. But specifically, pick the area you want to be in. And if you don't want to make videos for that general area, you want to niche in, pick a niche that you bring value to. Don't pick it based on the audience. Pick your area based on the audience. Pick your section based on what value you bring. And then from there, you can branch out. But pick your area based on goals. Pick your niche based on value. And as long as you're bringing value to some section in here, you will ultimately end up succeeding. Does YouTube analyze the video's content? No, it does not. It very vaguely does, but it's like 5% of how it works. 95% is based on who is watching the video. Like, if I had a video that's title was Fortnite gameplay, and it shows it to two Fortnite or it shows a video titled Fortnite gameplay to two Fortnite people, and they don't watch it, so it stops showing it to those people entirely. But it's actually a video about React stuff, and I take that video and I post that in my Discord. I'm like, hey, y'all watch React videos. This is actually a React video. Ignore the title. That video will start getting recommended to React developers because React developers have it in their watch history and they watched it. Watch history is the biggest thing YouTube uses, and because of that, you as the creator don't have control of the algorithm. It's the viewers. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I really want to like summarize this. This video is going to suck to edit. I am so sorry, Mir or Flip or whoever I like give this one to. I might have to do it myself because it's so chaotic. The algorithm isn't something you as the creator have any control of. And it also isn't really thinking about you. The algorithm doesn't give a shit about you as a creator or your video or any of the info you put in your title, description, tags, or any of that. YouTube's algorithm is based around the watch histories of viewers. What do viewers watch? What do they watch through? And what other videos do they watch? So if you have a video that is about Fortnite and a bunch of people who play Minecraft watch it for some reason, that video isn't going to be recommended to Fortnite players just because it has Fortnite in the title. It's going to be recommended to Minecraft players because Minecraft viewers are the ones watching it. And based on their watch histories and the groups that YouTube has identified they are part of, it is going to recommend videos to them based on that. So if you're struggling to get your videos to have traction in a specific area, the title helps with the click-through rate when it's seen, but the description doesn't help with much of anything. Your goal should specifically be to find viewers in the categories that you want your videos to be recommended in and find ways to make them watch it. If that means replying with links on Reddit, if that means talking about your videos on Twitter, if that means hanging out in Discords or Twitch communities and building relationships with the people who should be watching your videos, that's what you should be doing, not renaming your stuff over and over again until suddenly someone watches it. If you're not over like the 10,000 views per video threshold, title changes don't mean shit yet. Your goal is almost exclusively to find people to watch the videos so they'll be seated in the algorithm and recommended to people who would have a reason to click them in the first place. The problem with Twitch is that there's no real discovery because people don't go to Twitch to find something to watch. They go to Twitch because there's a specific channel they want to watch that is live right now. The average Twitch viewer opens up a specific channel on Twitch. Most people, when they watch Twitch, watch 1 to 2 streamers per Twitch viewing session. They don't sit there and watch dozens of streams. Like on TikTok, you'll scroll through tons of different TikTok creators. On Twitter, you'll scroll through tons of different people's tweets, many of which you're not even following yet. you usually don't go to Twitch unless you already know the person you're going to watch. I have a diagram of this, actually. The viewer monetization funnel, one of my favorite tweets. When thinking about audience growth, you have to think about how many new creators a given person, the viewer, encounters in a session on a platform. If I am a creator and I want to grow my audience, Twitch is a bad place to do that, period. Because people on Twitch, specifically the viewers, they're not there to watch a lot of new creators and discover their new favorite thing. They're on Twitch to watch the creators they already like. Other platforms like Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, those platforms are much more discovery-based, where you're scrolling, seeing lots of different creators, different ways of doing things, and stopping and watching and reading and relating to somebody you don't even know yet. You're much more likely on a session on Twitter or TikTok as a viewer to find a new creator than you are on something like Twitch, simply because of how we as viewers engage with these platforms. I think this is the part we miss a lot when we have these algorithm conversations and we have these platform conversations. Creators struggle to get out of the creator mindset long enough to realize all of this is built around the viewer. We think the algorithm's about us. It's not. It's about the viewers. We think that the platforms are about us. They're not. They're about the viewers. How do the viewers use these things, and how can we hook into their patterns as viewers and as audience on these platforms? YouTube has this really interesting spot in this chart because on YouTube, you impress on lots of different creators' content as you scroll and you're looking at all of these different videos you could watch, but you only click on a few videos. And that's the key with YouTube, is you have to fight to make it so someone will click your video versus another video. And whatever you can do to do that will make you more successful there. I refer to this as familiarity, because if people recognize your face from Twitter and TikTok, they're more likely to click your video. Or if people are familiar with the topic because your thumbnail and title are really engaging, they're more likely to click it. But you need something that that person recognizes to make them click in the first place, which is why YouTube is so different from Twitter and TikTok, where you have to choose to not look at the thing on those platforms. Like when you're scrolling on Twitter, you read the tweet. You might scroll by it, but you do read it. On TikTok, you start watching the video and then you scroll past it if you don't like it. On YouTube, you choose to start watching a video. On Twitch, you choose to start watching a stream. On YouTube Shorts and TikTok, you choose to stop watching. And that's a fundamental difference in how people engage and learn from those things. There is another problem, though, which is that specifically TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts have a much younger and different audience demographic than some of these other platforms like Twitter and YouTube Core and Twitch. And because of that, I've struggled a lot with having short form content do well because those audiences don't overlap as well with mine. Twitter, however, is massive for me. When one of my tweets for a video does well, that usually means the video is going to do well with my React web dev audience of like 25 plus year old dudes, which is what most of my audience is, like 90% of y'all. It's really important to understand who your audience is, where they are, and where they discover things, and really build into that.